Bitcoin civil war came to a fork in the road today. At the heart of this dispute is how Bitcoin can manage its incredible pace of growth. And this morning, on trading exchanges, Bitcoin was split into two, the original Bitcoin and now a new alternative currency called Bitcoin Cash. Charlie Morris is Chief Investment Officer for NextBlock Global, a digital currency investment firm. What exactly happened today?
Well, so like you said, Bitcoin has seen unbelievable growth. And the problem with that is that it has struggled to deal with the number of transactions it's been managing. Now, there were two groups of developers that came up with different scaling solutions. And what happened today is both of those solutions were effectively released. And so if I owned one Bitcoin this afternoon, I owned one Bitcoin and also one Bitcoin in this secondary network called Bitcoin Cash.
It's a pretty good deal, or did you see the value drop?
So it was actually almost magical to watch the markets at work, because what happened was the price of Bitcoin dropped by about $200 and the price of Bitcoin Cash immediately started trading at about $200. So in reality, as an investor before this split, you ended up with pretty much the same value.
And functionally, what can Bitcoin Cash do that Bitcoin itself wasn't doing? Like, what does this end up meaning for the market?
They're just different scaling solutions. So actually today, Bitcoin Cash will be about 8 times faster or can at least store 8 times more transactions than original Bitcoin. Bitcoin today, because of the implementation of a thing called SegWit, has doubled its speed, but in the future will implement further changes to further speed itself up.
Because there's another sort of part of the civil war within what people want to do with Bitcoin. And there are those who say it's a store of value. I just want to buy it at, $100 and now it's at $2,000 and let it grow over time. And there are others who say, no, I want this to be a regular currency. I can buy a slice of pizza or I can buy something online and have it shipped to me. Which one matches up with that? And how, before you even get to that, how important is that split in terms of what Bitcoin is when it grows up?
Well, that's kind of the fascinating thing about Bitcoin and about blockchain and this whole ecosystem, is that it's up to the users to decide what they believe in. So you can have forks like this, and you can have certain people that maybe believe in Bitcoin as a store of value, and perhaps they'll follow one side of the chain.
Probably the Bitcoin, the original Bitcoin, right?
Potentially.
Yeah.
And then you'll have people that maybe need a much faster implementation of Bitcoin today, and maybe will go with Bitcoin Cash.
Do you think, part of the problem of the people who want to see it scale up and get faster and become more accessible and more sort of used by more people, part of the problem for them was explaining some of the complicated parts of Bitcoin and a blockchain. Does today's split address that, or does it kind of muddy the waters a little bit further?
I think in the short term, it potentially muddies the water, because if you're a new user coming to Bitcoin today and you're suddenly seeing these two versions of Bitcoin, it's hugely confusing. But I think in the long term, this is actually a really great thing for the ecosystem, because what it demonstrates is that the market is able to support and empower different parts of the ecosystem and people with different views, and effectively the market will decide which has more value.
Everybody has a story about somebody they knew who bought Bitcoin really early on, and they've seen it grow, thousands of percent. The real growth that we've seen in the last number of years has been incredible. What is driving that? Like, it's been an incredible thing to watch. What's behind it?
It's a new way of thinking, and I actually think it's the next version of the internet that we're seeing evolving. We describe it as the internet of value over the internet of information. And so you can look at something like Bitcoin and see it as a new decentralized version of money. And then you have platforms like Ethereum, smart contract platforms, and newer things like Cosmos and Polkadot soon to come out this year, that have huge implications for all sorts of industries around smart contracts. So I think this incredible growth is coming from people realizing or beginning to realize the incredible potential that this technology has to offer.
I want to ask about sort of where things go from here and what the investment opportunities are. But first, explain what your company, NextBlock Global, is.
So we're an investment company. We invest in a range of cryptocurrencies and blockchain assets.
And that's it?
Yeah, on top of that, we're also kind of looking to support the ecosystem, particularly here in Toronto. And we are also looking to support companies kind of before they ICO, before they release their
initial coin offering. So where do you see the growth opportunities here? Where do you see investors heading when following Bitcoin?
So I think of the infrastructure layer as the most interesting layer at the moment. We're going to see incredible growth and we're going to see some fantastic failures over the next few years.
Right.
But I think what's really fascinating is this infrastructure layer, things like Ethereum that are building smart contracts and enabling people to do incredible things in all sorts of industries.
Is there much we can learn from how banking grew up over the years and built that kind of infrastructure and apply it to what will, is there a model that this will follow, or is this just completely uncharted?
It's quite new. I think it's interesting to see what the SEC said earlier this week or late last week around putting regulation around these ICOs. That's something that we actually think is a really good thing and really positive because it's been a little bit of a free-for-all. It's a kind of the Wild West at the moment.
Right.
But putting in place new structures and kind of better regulatory structures, I think will help the ecosystem to grow.
And you guys are doing that here in Toronto. Where are we in the sort of global fight to try to get companies out in front of this and build some of that infrastructure?
I think Toronto has huge potential to be a leading forefront. Ethereum was actually founded here in Toronto.
A lot of people don't know that.
Phenomenal. And Ethereum, if you think about it, is probably the biggest success startup story ever in Canada. It's a $20 billion protocol now. I think there are definitely things that the regulator could do to help improve.
Hasten that along.
Exactly. But I think definitely a very good opportunity here in Toronto.
Well, cool. It's been an interesting day, and it's really good to get you in to help us understand exactly what it is that happened today. Thanks for this.
Yeah, pleasure.
Charlie Morris, Chief Investment Officer for NextBlock Global.